Okay, so this message is for Miss Lotus Blooms. If you're not Miss Lotus Blooms, keep scrolling or stick around. And just so we're clear, I'm responding to this message that you left on my YouTube. Just understand that your daughters and granddaughters will have to pay for the divorce through stigmatization of you not keeping your marriage to avoid settling for only good enough. This is different from abuse of any kind. Men from good quality families are unlikely to consider them for marriage because they won't be of their ilk. Also, they will have the tremendous stigma of being black and female, burdening their womanhood and lives. You should have sacrificed and have at least given them the honor of coming from an intact family. They would have needed that going for them. It would be very hard for you to get remarried at your age and weight, realistically. First of all, what is you talking about? What are you talking about? So to summarize, I should have stayed in my marriage regardless of the reason, right? That you don't know all of the reasons. You're just drawing conclusions based on the minimal information I gave you. But I should have stayed in my marriage. One, to not stigmatize my daughters from coming from not keeping my marriage. And that men from good quality families. How do you define good quality families? Tell me what you mean by that. Do you mean that a man from a family where his parents aren't married can't be a good quality husband? Do you mean that a man who is raised by his father can't be a good quality? What are you saying? What are you really saying? Help me understand what you are saying. And I don't understand this sentencing at all. Also, they will have the tremendous stigma of being black and female, burdening their womanhood and lives. I don't know if you are a black female, but being black and female is difficult just because we're black and female in America. So are you saying that tremendous stigma of being black and female, burdening their womanhood and lives, they would have? So I didn't have anything to do with my children being black or my children being female. They were born that way. I mean, perhaps because their father is black and I'm black, so I contributed to that, but I have nothing to do with that. And so what you're saying is that because of, basically you're saying my children are in a no-win situation at all by virtue of the fact that they are black and female. That's going to be a burden to their womanhood and lives in general. But the fact that their father and I divorced after nearly 30 years together, that because of that, they won't be able to marry a man from a, what did you call it? A good quality family. Your priorities are interesting to me. They're very interesting to me. And this comment is very telling. This comment tells me a lot about how you may approach life and the closed mindedness that a lot of people attempt to navigate life through. And I'm willing to bet that that has created some issues for you in your own life just because of how you came at me, a random stranger, about something that does not concern you, and your concern for my children getting married seems very disingenuous. It seems more likely that you wanted a stage, and this allowed for you an opportunity to pontificate about something, anything, with anybody, and that perhaps you do that and hope that someone will bite, hope that someone will be so moved by your fear mongering that they will change their perspective. But I'll tell you something about me. Fear doesn't move me. Fear doesn't move me. So the fear of me not getting married again because of my age and my weight does not move me. I'm not afraid of that. Here's what I understand and here's what I know. I am leaning into God's will. And if it's God's will for me to be married again, I will be married again. And if it's God's will and I'm submitting to his will, the person that I marry is going to appreciate all 53 years, 5'2", 160 plus pounds on any given day, fupa, stretch mark, bad knees carrying me. He's going to love me in a godly way, not a way that's determined by man's standards. So with that being said, don't worry about me. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. You, on the other hand, I'm a little concerned that you'd come at me and you'd come at my children and you speak out things like that against my children, right? When you don't know us. But here's the thing. I know me. I know my situation. I know my children. We're going to be fine. In spite of what you, a random stranger on YouTube, has to say about it. Now, here's where I get concerned about people like you when they spew such venomous conjecture at people, right? Because you don't know me. You don't. When you see me in the street, shawty, you don't know me. You don't know my situation. You know what I showed you in a 4-minute clip. I want you to use some context clues. I want you to use some critical thinking skills as it relates to people in relationships where they've been in relationships for a really long time. And the fact that I don't out everything about my relationship or about what I experienced in that relationship. And I'm not saying that it was horribly physically abusive. I'm not saying that there were any of those things. There was enough that it had a negative impact on me, which in turn would have a negative impact on my girls. I'm not saying all of that, but what I am saying is that for you to speak out in such a way to someone that you don't know says way more about you than it says about me. Fortunately, I know myself, I know my situation, I know my girls, I know this was the best thing for all of us. Don't worry about my children. They are fine. Their parents did some really good jobs of raising them into amazing people. But yeah, just be careful out there with all these careless comments, man. And that's the reason I commented back. I said I wasn't going to do it. I do it a lot on TikTok. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll see I do this because there are a lot of people who come into my life and try to tell me about my life when, honey, I'm the expert on my life. Not only am I a therapist and a coach, but I am very introspective. That doesn't mean that I get everything perfect, but that means that I look at patterns. I look at patterns and I respond accordingly. I gave it the old college try. My ex-husband and I, we tried, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working for neither one of us, which meant that it was not working for our family. And the research speaks to children faring better outside of relationships when parents don't stay together just for the kids. So if that's your choice, hunty, I congratulate you. I will say that your children will likely experience some byproduct of that, which is probably equal to what it is that you believe my children will experience by not staying in my marriage. To which I say therapy is available to everybody, and we all get the opportunity to process what happens in our lives. And my children will be just fine, just like your children will, as long as they have the opportunity to speak and be heard. And based on your comment, I worry about that for your children or anyone in your life. So yeah, maybe that should be more your concern. Maybe that should be more your concern. Anyway, have a blessed day.